Magandang umaga, Martes! Good afternoon sa mga nanananghalian sa East Coast, Canada, North America, who is 3 hours ahead and 2 hours ahead of us, the Central Time. Another beautiful and insightful edition of Ano na Bab, Best Express Views on PHLD Radio. The weather outside is beautiful. The air is cool, and if you are in the area and the weather is gloomy, don't let it affect you because we have enlightening information that will illuminate your day. On to our Tuesday topic, seasonal depression. Studies found that there is a seasonal affective disorder, a depressive disorder with a seasonal, a pattern, a person's major depressive episode is connected to a specific season. While most think that seasonal affective disorder affects only people in the fall or winter months, some people also experience sadness during spring and summer months too. So with us today, Mr. Robert Hendricks, spokesperson for Jehovah's Witnesses, to help us shed light on seasonal depression. Good morning from us and good afternoon to you. How's the weather in New York?
Well, believe it or not, it's very rarely about the same. So we're sun out, 34 degrees. So we're right with you. It's very strange to have the same weather as Las Vegas.
Usually you guys are already icy and snow and really, really snow.
That's right. Yeah. So we're in about the same position as you, but not for long. I think we're going to get a lot of snow over the next few days during the weekend. So there's a big storm coming our way.
Wow. So Robert, we have questions such as, does rain make us sad? How about cold temperatures? Does it make you feel like wanting to hunker down, hibernate, and isolate ourselves from others? And in line with that question, what are signs of seasonal depression and why is seasonal depression awareness so important?
Yeah, I think that, of course I'm not a doctor, but from a spiritual standpoint, what affects us spiritually is our emotions, and some things we can't control. We can't control our chemistry. We can't control the fact that there are times during the year that are much more difficult for us. Now, those times may include times, perhaps an anniversary of the death of a loved one, or the anniversary of a traumatic event in the world, or a traumatic event happening in the world, things that we can't really anticipate. But many people do anticipate the fact that when December comes, November, December comes, it has an effect on them. They feel very depressed, and for many it is a fall winter thing, even though for others it may be more often. But they slow down. They generally oversleep, withdraw from friends and family, experience changes in their appetite and perhaps their preferences. Some get so low that they just feel like they want to check out. And it's a very dangerous feeling. And knowing this, why it's important for us to know it, is because when you know something, when you can anticipate it, when you can diagnose what you're feeling, you can actually do something about it, do some mitigating measures that will help you to deal with it on a regular basis. Proverbs 24:6, a beautiful proverb. It says, by skillful direction you wage your war, which means that you need to know what's coming in order for you to plan for it. And I think that's the key. Not only the individual planning for it, because that may be there may be limited ability to do that, but also loved ones and those that surround you.
Wow. So SAD, it is a clinical depression that some people shut their life half of the year. So now, why is depression of interest to Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah, because depression affects us. It affects us all. We may be spiritual people. Jehovah's Witnesses may generally be joyful people. In fact, the Bible says that joy is a manifestation of God's Spirit in us. But joy doesn't always equal happiness. Joy is more of something that's underlying that can't be affected because we know that our future is good. But depression happens to all of us. In fact, 10% at least are affected by depression, and it affects the basic needs of a human being. Think about that for a moment. Our basic needs are physical, emotional, and spiritual. Basically, though, that's what a human being, those are our needs. We continue to care for ourselves physically, but when we're depressed, that we may neglect our physical. When we neglect our physical, it affects us emotionally, and one affects the other. And when we're affected in both of these ways, it can affect us spiritually. So it's one of those rare things that we face that maybe others can't see, but affects every part of our being. So it's very important.
Okay. Are there Bible examples of people who, no, let me delete that. Can the Bible help you if you are depressed? And what makes the Bible an effective and practical aid in fighting depression?
Well, I think it should be said, as I said, I'm not a clinician, and the Bible is no substitute for professional help. But the Bible can definitely help. And I'll just mention a few things. First of all, the Bible dignifies us. When you regularly read the Bible, you find that it doesn't hold us to this impossible standard. God doesn't expect us to be perfect. It acknowledges that depression is real. It highlights people who have gone through depression. It gives us principles to deal with. You know, our Creator knows human beings better than anyone. You can see for yourself the many people who are written about. I'll give us some examples, Bev. I think about Job. Job was so depressed, so sad, that he said, I loathe my life. I do not want to go on living. He was facing some serious things, of course, but so do people today. They face serious issues. Jonah said to God, now, please take away my life. Elijah, and this is a great example. Elijah's a great example because Elijah, his depression seemed to come from nowhere. It didn't make logical sense. And that's something that we learn from these Bible characters. All of a sudden, we realize they look just like us. You know, James chapter 5 says Elijah, as an example, has feelings just like ours. And so when we are able to look at those real people, real accounts of these real people, how God dealt with them, how they dealt with their own depression, the Bible helps us then to apply principles that have been effective for the last 6,000 years of human existence. And so, and finally, the Bible also builds faith in our Creator. And when we have faith in a Creator, when it helps us to communicate with Him, that in itself can help our depression. It's not simply a catharsis, but prayer is powerful. And it also gives us a hope for the future, because depression dims our hopes. It makes things dark. And so when we can focus on the hope, it can help us to transcend our thoughts beyond the moment of depression and go to another place, a better place.
Yeah, very well said. Faith is like Wi-Fi. It's invisible, but it could go powerfully to our Creator. It could go into 5G.
That's right.
So, Robert, what thought can someone bear in mind, like a Bible principle to help them grapple and survive with seasonal depression?
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a few of them, but a Bible principle that stands out to me is in Acts 20:35. And there, it's actually an interesting scripture because it's being written, and it says that Jesus actually said it. So even though it's not quoting Jesus in the Gospels, it's quoting him in some other inspired expression, and it says there is more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. Now, what does that mean? How does that help seasonal depression? Well, it takes a Herculean effort. There's no doubt about it, because when we're seasonally depressed, or when we're depressed at all, clinically depressed, all we want to do is isolate ourselves. But the best thing we could do is give. The best thing we can do is serve others. The best thing we can do is try to stay active and surround ourselves with people. Proverbs 17:17 talks about friendship and how a friend shows love all the time. So we want to help others. A brother who is born in times of distress, find that friend, confide in that friend, let them know that you go through this and you're going through this. Really let them know. And finally, prayer. We talked about it. Throw your anxiety on God. Three things. One, try not to isolate yourself and instead focus on others, serve them. Number two, find a friend and confide in them. Let them know what you're going through. And number three, don't forget to pray and throw your anxiety on God, because the Bible says he cares for you.
Yeah, very well said. So what if a loved one struggles with seasonal depression but does not want to talk about it because of shame or it's a taboo subject in their culture? What Bible principles can help to endure such situation?
Well, the last thing we want to say is snap out of it, right? This is not typically, depression is not typically something we can control by just simply thinking positive thoughts. So it's really important that loved ones don't stigmatize others who are facing this. Don't characterize them as weak. The Bible says to speak consolingly with those who are depressed. In fact, that was Paul writing, and Paul actually wrote about his friend Epaphroditus, and he was sending a letter back to the congregation saying, take care of him, hold men of this sort dear, because he's been depressed, because he was sick. Help them break the isolation. The Bible warns against isolation. We talked about that. Help them, even if it means going to their door, even if they say don't come, and getting inside, giving them a meal, getting them out to a park. I know my mom just went through an operation on her arm, and she's not typically somebody who gets depressed or in that way or sad, but she's experienced several weeks of being inside and being in a chair and being in pain. And so she went out with my father just this week, twice now. 2 days in a row, she was able to get out to a place where there was sunlight and trees. She got a little walking in, and it lifted her spirits. Get outside. All the research says if we can get into a park, there's something about green. God created the green surroundings, and it's hard in a city, but get to a park. Enjoy the greenery, because it does something to our emotions that lifts it. Scientists don't exactly know why it does that, but that's really important. And then finally, when we are speaking consolingly to them, find a way to give them commendation. Don't put them down. Don't make them feel less of a person because they're going through this. Genuine commendation can help them see their own value. And share with them powerful words, even if it's taking a proverb and sharing with them something consolingly. And finally, what I do on a regular basis, every time I work out, I just listen to the Psalms, the book of Psalms. So I have listened to the 150 Psalms over and over and over and over again. And every time I listen, I find something that helps me. And so those are some strategies that we can do and that we can help others to do if our friends or family are experiencing this.
That's truly encouraging. So in every stride that you do, one verse.
Mm-hmm.
In all the elliptical, one chapter.
Actually, I think I went through 20 chapters this morning.
Wow, so 20.
Yeah, 20.
That's a great encouragement for everyone, especially me who doesn't like exercise. So.
That's right. Well, exercising, that's another thing. Don't forget, physical exercise is absolutely key to to good feelings and positive emotions.
Yes, the serotonins and all the melatonins and tonins in your brains. That is such a very good encouragement. So what are the resources available to those who would like to learn more?
Yeah, jw.org. We always point people to the jw.org. It's almost a limitless resource. Of course, it's in 1,070 languages, I think, now. And so it's in your language. Go to jw.org. It's free. There's none of the resources you'd have to pay for. And put in sadness or depression into the search field. You'll find a very interesting worksheet as well. And it's for young people. It's working through sadness. And it's a very powerful instrument that they can use to work through their own sadness. So if you're a parent, your child is going through this, where many children do, especially in their preteen and mid-teen years, give them that worksheet, work with them on it, and use these resources on jw.org.
Very well said, Robert. So when we return, another edition of Ano Na Bev, we will talk about after the Depression, how does Bible education enrich one's life? How Jehovah's Witnesses adapted their teaching methods over the years. The fact that you can enjoy life forever when you return. So stay tuned.
Singer. That's how I support myself and my family. I'm a careful driver. The other car hit me. I ended up picking Richard Harris. Richard Harris is already an institution in Nevada. Dahil kay Richard Harris, tanggal ang worries.
I slipped. I hurt my tailbone. They sent me the bill. Si Richard Harris, siya lang ang tumanggap ng kaso ko. Tutulungan ka niya. Kay Richard Harris, tanggal ang worries.
The Richard Harris Law Firm, just in case.
Sa hirap ng buhay ngayon, some people don't get the basic health care, but access to being well and healthy is available. Silver State Health Services offers affordable access to quality health care.
Silver State Health Services is here for you, Kapamilya.
There are children who've never had the experience of being a child. Bamboo Sunrise Foster Care serves underprivileged children.
We are known for exceptional standard in delivering excellent services.
You can be a parent, make an impact on a child's life.
Finding the right dentist could sometimes be a challenge, but Dental Care of Las Vegas is a one-stop shop for oral hygiene.
We treat our patients as family.
Affordable financial arrangements are accepted. Call today, Dental Care of Las Vegas.
We at Dental Care of Las Vegas are very committed to give you the best smile, Southern Nevada. We treat our patients as family. In our practice, we are really committed to give the best dental care.
Sabi ng patients ko, they don't need a colonoscopy because they don't feel anything. But colon cancer is a silent killer. It affects both men and women, mayaman man o mahirap. Have your colon checked.
At Mobile Home Health, we deliver quality care in the comfort of your home.
Our team of registered nurses are efficiently trained from pre- and post-operative program to skilled nursing.
Mobile Home Health Inc. offers therapy services from physical therapy, occupational therapy, to speech-language pathology.
Our nurses also develop individualized plan of care for our patient to treat acute or chronic health problems.
Because health is wealth.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
The Best Express Views on PHLV Radio. Our viewers and listeners in Canada, Australia, Sydney, Melbourne, Saudi Arabia, Croatia, and of course, Philippines. Our viewers from Sweden, hello, 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 everyone. Stay warm. But of course, in the Philippines, it usually never gets cold, so I miss that weather. Welcome back, Robert. In addition to coping with depression, how does Bible education enhance one's life, enrich one's life, rather?
That's a good question, and really, it's about questions. I know that sounds strange, but there's no other credible resource to answer life's big questions. Why are we here? Is there a God? Does he have a purpose for this earth? What happens when we die? What is the hope for the future? All of those questions are left to individuals to wonder. Perhaps they can do an internet search. But really, the best place to get answers to those big questions is the Bible. It's the most translated book on the planet. And so why is that important? It's translated in nearly 3,000 languages. Why does that tell you something? Because God has preserved this book and has made it available to every single person on the planet. There's no other book like that. So just that in itself helps us to see the value of the Bible. its principles are well known to be something that can help us. So think about the Bible, its principles, and then think about the answers that it gives to these life's big questions that many people, they walk around dumbfounded as to how to answer these questions. The Bible does. And what that does for somebody is it gives them a purpose. And at least it gives them an answer, and it gives them a way to look at their lives differently, because now it's not simply them in a massive crowd, but it's them in a universe that is ruled by a sovereign who is their creator. And that helps to guide our lives for the future.
How have Jehovah's Witnesses adapted their teaching methods over the years?
Well, that's interesting, too, because really Jehovah's Witnesses started in the late 1800s as an extension, really, of the early apostles and the Christian congregation. And what they did was they just looked in the Bible, they took Bible resources available, and they looked for answers. But over time, they realized that Bible scholarship was really tied to translation. And so in 1950, we released our first translation of part of the Greek scriptures of the Bible. And why that was important was because it made the Bible accessible to many. The Bible in its form in King James and other forms is very difficult to understand and read. So language was a barrier for understanding. And so in 1950 all the way to 1960, we translated and released the entire Bible, the Hebrew and Greek scriptures. But interestingly, that Bible has changed because language has changed. So in the course of 1950 to 2013, language changed dramatically. And people's scholarship changed as well. So, for example, we can't understand dense language anymore. It's not something that most of us understand. And so the Bible that we then revised in 2013 makes the language easier to understand. And so that's been a real change for us. Over the years, we have had very densely written publications. We've had a Bible that won awards, a Bible that was known to be one of the best translations, if not the best translation available to man. But then we revised that to make it simpler, because ultimately, translation and Bible reading is about understanding. If you can't understand the Bible, then it's not going to do any good for you. And so we wanted to continue to make the Bible easier to understand. So the New World Translation of the Bible 2013 Study Edition is easy to understand. It has scholarly notes on it that give a person an understanding of the Bible. So right within that publication, they can download it free on JW Library, jw.org, Android or iOS apps on iPad or on Android. And these Bibles really help to understand the language. Now, in addition to that, back in the day, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and back in the early 1900s, our publications were rich in beautiful language. But that beautiful language has kind of aged out. And so our publications now are smaller. They have more illustrations in them. Their language is simpler. We used to have a simplified edition of the Watchtower. Now we've just created a simplified Watchtower for everybody. And so that has been a big change for us in the way we present the Bible and Bible scholarship.
And Jehovah's Witnesses introduced this cutting-edge technology to study one of the world's oldest books. We already tapped on that a little bit. I think it's clever. And why is it important, especially now?
Well, it is kind of ironic that we have adopted a new format for Bible study. Typically, over the last 50 years or so, more than that, really, we have sat down with people and we've taken a book and we've read a paragraph and we've asked a question and the person answers from the paragraph. That's the way most schools work, right? You go, the teacher tells you, okay, read this passage and we're going to give you a reading comprehension test. Well, guess what? People don't read anymore. And people don't comprehend like they used to. And so for many, many years, I worked in education for a number of decades. Education has tried to move both K-12 and college education to more of an interactive way of learning. Hands-on, interactive, not as much words, but still the same information. Well, we've done that. During the pandemic, we released a study publication, Enjoy Life Forever, that we don't call it a book anymore. We call it a study platform. And the reason why it's a platform is because it includes interactive worksheets. It includes moving graphics. It includes hundreds of videos and fewer words, so that our Bible discussions now promote understanding, and not only are reaching people's minds and nourishing their minds, but ultimately feeding their hearts. The heart is the key, because the heart is what is the engine of behavior. And if we can understand these principles, get them into our heart, then it can actually change our lives for the good.
Very well said. What are the advantages of this program?
I think clearly the advantage is that it's meeting students where they are right now, meeting learners where they are. You know, we can, the Bible is a big book. This is, right? It's got very small words in it, and the Bible is the greatest book ever published. But reading it from Genesis to Revelation is very difficult. It's difficult to read. It takes a long time. It's dense language. It's talking about an era that is long past. The Bible first starts 6,000 years ago with its creation. Much of the Hebrew scriptures date back some 2,500 years. We have no context for that culture. And if you don't have context for a culture, you can't understand the words. And so being able to take this publication, this study platform, and it's a topical understanding of the Bible that is interactive, that gives you videos, that gives you real life experiences. How does a person, as an example, deal with depression? How does a person go from being somebody who doesn't believe in God to somebody who's believed in God? We have those types of experiences embedded in the study platform. So in itself, it makes it easier to understand the most important book that's ever been released in the history of the world.
And it doesn't change, correct? The Bible never changed.
No, the Bible hasn't changed, but language has, right? Yeah. So if you really think about when it was written in its original languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, those languages are long gone. All of those ancient languages are dead. And so imagine if we had a publication in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, we wouldn't understand it. In fact, Jesus and his apostles used a translation, the Greek Septuagint translation of the Bible. And so when we think about our translations today, the reason why they use the Greek Septuagint is because that was the lingua franca. That was the language of the day. Today, our language, whatever it is, whether it's Tagalog, whether it's English, it has changed as well because languages evolve. And so our publications, even our Bible, must evolve with it. The message doesn't change. The language changes so that the idea that was meant to be embedded in our hearts is transmitted in a way that we can understand.
Very work. It's amazing. And why do Jehovah's Witnesses pursue such an effort? And what are Jehovah's Witnesses looking to accomplish?
Well, that's what we're all about. So the volunteer efforts, the many thousands of hours, the many thousands of people who were involved in the production of this publication, from the artists to the photographers to the videographers to the editors, global effort that went into this publication really is an example of what we do. We're called Jehovah's Witnesses. Many people don't understand what that means. They say, "Are you a Jehovah?" No, I'm not a Jehovah. Jehovah is the supreme being. I am one of his witnesses. I'm one who testifies and teaches about him by my conduct and by my speech. And so now I have this publication, this study platform that allows me to do that better, that allows me to reach you. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do. That's why we do it.
How much does a Bible study cost?
It's very expensive. Zero. It costs your time, and time is valuable. There's no doubt about it. But there are millions of people around the world who are taking advantage of this free Bible study program. And it really is meant to be just like the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts, who was approached by Philip, the evangelizer. The Bible is really meant to be studied together. It is an experience between human beings. And so when we're able to use this study platform, get together at no charge, no cost, it could be even virtually. We can do that through FaceTime or Zoom or Skype. That really affects us in our hearts. And so there's no cost to it. We've never charged for any of our services, and we never will.
You get it for free, and you give it for free.
That's right. That's what Jesus said. He said, you receive free, give free. That's the principle that we follow.
I think everybody should avail it because that's the only free thing in this world nowadays.
Yeah, that's right. It's a pretty good bargain.
How does the Bible study work? Is the person required to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses?
No, we actually don't knock on the doors of fellow witnesses only for social visits and for shepherding visits. We knock on the doors and we offer Bible study to those who are interested in studying. So whatever denomination they are, whatever color, creed, language they are, we are willing to impart our understanding of the Bible. And the beautiful thing about a Bible study is that it works both ways. Frankly, I have probably learned more from my Bible studies than they've learned from me. And it has helped me to do things like this, talk on television and on the radio, because I understand where people are coming from. They've taught me that. So a Bible study is a beautiful experience. You don't have to be a witness. And we don't expect you at the beginning to say, there's no criteria that says, well, I want to be a witness, so I'm going to study the Bible. Those things we never put together. We're willing to study with anybody, and we pray and hope that those individuals will adopt some of the good things they've learned in their lives, make progress, and it can change their lives for the better.
Very well said. How can a person request for a Bible study?
Probably the best way is to go to a Jehovah's Witness you know. You probably know one, so call them up. Another way is to go to local Kingdom Hall if you know where it is. We are having in-person meetings now. But probably the best way for most people is to go to jw.org. When you go there, you'll scroll down halfway down the page, and you'll see a couple of boxes. One is request a visit, find a meeting in your local area, find a convention, or just request literature. So you can do that all on jw.org. It will actually travel pretty quickly to the local congregation. They will assign it to somebody who, for example, if I got your name, Bev, and I was one of the elders, I'd assign it to one of our sisters. We call them Pioneer Sisters, and they'd probably knock on your door or give you a call. And that's how it works.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Robert, for another insightful, savvy, enlightening conversation. Always a joy and grateful heart to learn that you can enjoy life forever.
Yes, indeed. And thank you for being so complimentary. And I hope to see you again, Bev. Thank you.
Yes. Another Tuesday edition of Aluna Bev, Best Express Views on PHLV Radio. See you again next week. Thank you so much.
I'm a professional singer. That's how I support myself and my family. I'm a careful driver. The other car hit me. I ended up picking Richard Harris. Richard Harris is already an institution in Nevada. Dahil kay Richard Harris, tanggal ang worries.
I slipped. I hurt my tailbone. They sent me the bill. Si Richard Harris, siya lang ang tumanggap ng kaso ko. Tutulungan ka niya. Kay Richard Harris,
In case.
Sa hirap ng buhay ngayon, some people don't get the basic healthcare, but access to being well and healthy is available. Silver State Health Services offers affordable access to quality healthcare.
Silver State Health Services is here for you, Capamilia.
There are children who've never had the experience of being a child. Bamboo Sunrise Foster Care serves underprivileged children.
We are known for exceptional standard in delivering excellent services.
You can be a parent, make an impact on a child's life.
Finding the right dentist could sometimes be a challenge, but Dental Care of Las Vegas is a one-stop shop for oral hygiene.
We treat our patients as family.
Affordable financial arrangements are accepted. Call today, Dental Care of Las Vegas.
Sabi ng patients ko, they don't need a colonoscopy because they don't feel anything. But colon cancer is a silent killer. It affects both men and women, mayaman man o mahirap. Have your colon checked.
At Marble Home Health, we deliver quality care in the comfort of your home.
Our team of registered nurses are efficiently trained from pre- and post-operative program to skilled nursing.
Mobile Home Health Inc. offers therapy services from physical therapy, occupational therapy, to speech-language pathology.
Our nurses also develop individualized plan of care for our patient to treat acute or chronic health problems.
Because health is wealth.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHL.